Okay, she says she'll be here in like 10 to 15 minutes because she has to walk.
Okay. Do we get closer there so there's not as much of an awkward walk up?
Yeah. Is this better?
Yeah, I like standing over here so then I can watch people coming.
Just over here. Okay. Because they can't get up the other ladder.
Yeah, they can't get up the other
Except for
ladder, and
Keith.
then I can, except for Keith, and then I can see them come up. And then there's not a huge awkward walk down the runway. The ominous people standing.
It was from Kiki. She was just status checking me.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep. I've got something. Though I'm sure she's going to interrupt me every chance she gets.
Yeah.
I think she's here. Oh my god.
Gonna be all right.
Yep.
Hey, Keith.
I was just gonna say I gotta go 10 to 7 for a couple minutes. Um, yeah, yep, see you soon.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're as good as we can be. It's gonna be a rough little bit for a while.
Yeah.
You want to start, Misa, or you want me to start?
Um, I wanted to start off by saying that from a structural, scheduling, and like overall professional standpoint, you have done an amazing job with P&T. However, we have had several individuals bring forward concerns. I'm I won't lie, yes, the incident with Odessa is a factor, but it is not the main cause. It was simply the jumping off point that had us looking in other directions. Being in any kind of position of power or leadership, it requires you to be responsible with it. You have to know how to wield that power and to respect people who look up to you just as you have to look to them and respect them. How Odessa acted herself was not professional, and she should not have spoken to you as a lead of PNT in that way, or anyone in a position of command. She should not have raised her voice. She should not have called you names as a liar or said you're gaslighting. That is unprofessionalism, insubordination. And Odessa will be spoken to when she comes back from her LOA. From your statement from Parker, which I have had, I had this statement the day that we spoke to you. You mentioned that you have no problems with her FTOing, meaning you believe her to be a competent FTO and that you don't doubt her skills. But that you removed her FTO cert in a way that felt you did it simply because you could rather than having a reason. Now, I know in your statement it stated that you had issues for some time, but the statement of no problems with her FTOing really does give a contradiction to that statement. I have known Odessa for a long time. Very long time. I was the first person to FTO her. And I had her reading me the SOPs as she was trying to FTO me. No one person in this department or anywhere is the same. We don't all learn the same. And as a lead or a position of command, we all have to learn to adapt and learn that people need different ways of being taught. Odessa is someone that needs to be taught a different way, or she needs a different helping hand. You're going to butt heads with people in this department and everywhere. But as someone in a higher ranked position, you have to learn to adapt and treat everyone with respect, even if it isn't shown to you. You also mentioned in your statement the conclusion with your FTIs was not to fire her, which was referring to Odessa. This was also a cause of concern, meaning that this was something you were considering, even though this is not something in your power. Though this could be construed as you meant it was going to be removing her FTO cert, which in that case, that was a bad choice of wording, but it still remains the same. It also was stated that was in your statement, I was the P&T lead, so if I wanted to grant people permission to do things, I could. While Kiki and V were deputy chief and chief, they did give you free reign as P&T lead. And that was a means as to how you designed the department and in a sense how it was run, but not necessarily how you made decisions onto what you wanted to do simply because you were P&T lead. It's as if Happy or I would make up rules to do things simply because we are command. We can do that, but we don't because we have to have a responsibility as people in our position. You mentioned that Odessa went to Kiki with incorrect information. And while, yes, she did go to Kiki, Kiki had given me text messages that stated that Odessa went to her to vent as a friend, not as a chief, and it was mentioned several times. We did inquire as to you mentioning about Odessa harassing David in emails, and you brought this up to Kiki. I called Kiki, and she has no recollection of that conversation, which she feels is odd because she would not have taken that situation lightly. She would have um she would have given discipline to Odessa. She would not have let that slide whatsoever. She does not take that lightly. It seems while we gave you P&T lead to do with as you please, I think it may have been a bit too much power for you to handle. But we do mean it when we say we genuinely appreciate what you have done for this department. But we just cannot ignore some of the signs that we are seeing. And there are more that I do have, but there are names in which I cannot say and things in which I cannot say.
But I would like to know, you don't have to name people, but things that could have been brought up to me that I could have changed or worked on. Right?
This is true. Things that you could have changed, but there are other things as well.
Okay, so just don't mind me speaking here just a little bit on the topic.
No, you're
because,
fine.
You had my statement at first, right? And you
Yes.
played oblivious to my statement and said you didn't have it. Could you not have spoke to me about my statement on that day so I could have elaborated on some of the things I wrote? Seeing as I wrote that to Parker the moment this happened so that it was immediately reported to command, because as I wanted to speak to him, he said he was going to bed and went 42 and left. He then gave me 3 days to wait for him to talk to him about this matter.
We decided not to mention that we had it.
But do you not understand what this does? Because I know you guys probably think you don't want me to talk probably here, but at this point, you have just told me I was too powerful with PNT, right? I did too much. But you failed to see the fact that I said the David thing and I did report this to Kiki. You guys do not believe that I said this to Kiki, but I have reported on multiple occasions to Kiki and Veronica little things and things that add up. Speak to Angela and David about that. Just because somebody forgets doesn't mean it did not happen. And when Kiki called me on that day, she called me as chief and not as a friend. She called me to tell me that I can't fire someone over and over again when I did not mention firing someone. I have never overstepped my position in P&T and have only given people the opportunity to do things. And I have never, I can promise you this, I have never gone out of my way to make anybody's lives hell. The environment and the attitude behind everybody I've worked with, trained, and built up, it's amazing. And these people respect me madly. They all come to me with their things, their ideas, and I give them that platform. And every single idea and move I make is always talked about with my FTIs before I do it.
I believe that you've had the best of intentions.
I
However,
don't believe from what you guys are saying right now that that's where this conversation is going, seeing as you sounded like you were already going to cry by the time this conversation started. I don't mean that in a bad way, but in reality, if you wanted this conversation to go any other way, I feel like this should be more composed, or it should be people that aren't my friends that are having this with me.
Unfortunately, I mean, the only other two options would be Parker and D'Angelo. And
I think I would prefer to talk to this stuff with them, if I'm being honest. Because
well,
I'm not
you
gonna
were
lie.
going to have a meeting today with Parker, and he was waiting for you to let him know that you were ready to talk. That
I
was
was on
his
duty
impression.
all morning, and
the other
I
issues that
didn't
have come up have been us receiving reports about you talking about people behind their backs about, and we have observed it has seemed like you have been trying to keep command out of the loop with things. You tend to have an attitude that you are the only one in the room that sees things clearly, and anybody else that is operating differently, you take issue with. You are not aware of how your words can be interpreted in different ways and how that affects people.
Okay, great.
You will listen to what people are saying with the in order to take their words and twist it to win an argument instead of actually taking in that criticism. Every time that we've tried to question or criticize something about what you are doing, you have become extremely defensive about it. And all of these are not the qualities of a leader.
Okay, so you're gonna say I'm doing that right now, right? But this is how a conversation goes. You say something and you give somebody the chance to speak back, right? You guys have not actually had a serious conversation with me regarding anything to do with my performance. Not one person has. In the entire time I've been in EMS, not one person has. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Talking behind people's backs, that's not it. I'm doing the opposite. I have been talking not only D'Angelo and Parker up, but you two up while everybody's doom spiraling about this change and the next chief of EMS election. For months, all I have done is try to be nice. I have tried to keep my feelings to myself, but you guys would understand this if you guys spoke to me, right? Do you guys remember when we last spoke? As friends, as colleagues? Do you guys remember last time Command came to me about anything or allowed me to speak about my opinions? Do you remember when the last time I brought a concern to Command was about something and it was actually talked to about it? Do you guys remember? I honestly,
Command probably stopped talking to anybody once we heard things about people talking behind our backs, and we stopped trusting anybody.
Okay, but why did you not address this issue? So if
Because
you
when
guys had
there
have
are
come
people
to
who are
me,
talking behind our backs, we can't trust anybody, not
yeah,
even
but
you.
you could come to me and ask me, have you been talking about me? Because then I would say no. Or, you know what? This situation pissed me off a little bit. So I vented to one friend. Venting is not talking behind backs. Venting is actually a healthy method to calm yourself down before having a conversation. I do not go to a group of people and talk shit. I don't go to a million people and talk shit. You know what I do? I sit there, I'm sad, I try to figure out who I can trust and talk to, and it's none of my old friends. It's none of my old command. It's none of the people I used to work with because they actually cut me off over a month ago now. Everybody stopped speaking to me over a month ago. And I still stood here and told people to go to you guys. I still stood here and talked you guys up day after day. Did I have to? No. Did anybody come speak to me? No. Did Kiki stop speaking to me? Yes. Did Veronica beat me down on the roof? Yes. Did people talk to me about this? No. So I'm sorry if you say that my leadership is bad. Look, I see where this conversation's going, and yeah, maybe I am getting a little bit annoyed. But when you're told over and over again that you're doing something wrong in one conversation, when this could have been a conversation that had on the day, if command communicated their problems, because you say I don't go to command, right? I always go to command about every single decision I make. Every single decision I make, I speak to somebody before I do it. Every single issue I have, I go to command about it. Whether they tell you guys, that's on them. I will go and I will have a conversation with a member of command, Veronica and Kiki, because they are my time zone. They were my command. I didn't come into this hour. Me on duty past this point, you know, did you guys never question why I stopped coming on duty? Did you guys ever notice that I stopped coming on duty? Did you
I
guys
did.
even
We had a
notice?
conversation about it.
Did you guys notice that I told you all that I felt uncomfortable being on duty? Even my chief? And why? I went into detail in why I didn't want to be here. Do you know what it's like to... Okay, I'm gonna dial it back because it's annoying me a little bit because of how everything's been and how I'm being... I'm not gonna say targeted, but I'm being put on a pedestal that's not a good one when a lot of people are at fault for everything. Okay, so I wrote notes because recently I have been feeling more shit, and when you guys called me up the other day, you didn't leave me with a good feeling. You left me with a feeling that I was going to get in trouble. Odessa did things countless times, and it was reported to Kiki. It was reported to Kiki every single time. Me and the FTIs decided, yes, poor wording. It wasn't supposed to be firing. It's because everything was like that on that day. And I just wrote it fast. On that day, I decided that that was the best course of action because she could not respect any form of P&T. By saying that I am P&T lead so I can approve that, isn't me saying, hey, I can approve blah, blah, blah. It's me saying, hey, I can approve you taking one extra trainee out. You know, if you'd have asked me about this, you know what I would have told you that was for? Have you heard of chain of command? How I was trying to bring the chain of command in P&T into play so that it was more used. Tell me what the point is of a P&T lead or an FTI if an FTO can do everything. By asking my opinion or an FTI's opinion, that was so that they, as FTOs, could do things that broke SOPs, but not in a bad way, like take an extra trainee, go out for an extra hour, take a trainee before the hour's up, you know? That's something so small, and you guys have taken that way out of context and made that sound like I was saying, hey, I can approve you guys to do this, and this. Like I have some form of authority that I don't have. I have never thought I had anything more than what I've done, which is actually a shared authority that I gave to myself, Angela, and David. And they will tell you this, every single choice I've made has been with them. The fact that people aren't communicating is actually pissing me off because it's making me look like a terrible person when I sit here day in, day out and listen to people, take their complaints. I watch them all get promoted around me while they're still asking me how to do things. That's fine. I don't care about the promotion. But what I do care about is that they feel like they have to come to me and they feel like they can't go to command. You know what I tell them? And you can ask them this. I tell them to go to command. I say, find yourself a if you find yourself a problem, find a solution and then tell command, because then you're proving yourself capable of solving the problem. This has been my stance the entire time. But while everybody's been cutting me off, not allowing me to speak, not giving me the time of day, treating me like absolute shit, I have stood here and I have continued to try build the P&T department and the department seeing as we don't have the staff at the moment and everybody is unhappy. Everyone's unhappy. Everybody's stressed and overworked and they feel like they can't go off duty. So I've been trying to provide as much support as possible to them. Also, by bringing in the newer trainees that are now EMTs that are now, they're probably going to start leading the FTI department. I'm going to be real. I did lose a lot of respect for all of you. Not D'Angelo, not Parker, because they have nothing to do with this. They have absolutely nothing to do with this. I lost a lot of respect for the people closest to me on not just a work point of view, but from a friend point of view. I'm gonna say this now because out of work stuff should never affect on duty stuff. I've sat here in this department for the past month feeling pushed away by not only command but my family and friends. I came on duty just to get ignored or shouted at. I would get told to give people space, so I would. And I genuinely had to go find a different place to be. I had to go find who I need, a new group, really, a new batch. And I've never been one to stick to a certain group. But when I go off duty and I feel like I have no friends to talk to anymore, when I go off duty and try to reach out and stuff and people are too busy, it's heartbreaking and it's sad. And I feel like when I come on duty, it's the same. You know, the day I got stabbed was fun. That was probably the last proper day I had fun on duty. And everybody keeps blaming me for that. And they continuously tell me that was all my fault. And that's where this whole bad outlook came. And there's one comment I keep hearing over and over and over again is that I shouldn't have twatted out. On that day, I wasn't the only person twatting out. I wasn't the only person saying things on Twitter. A member of command themselves were. When I keep getting told that I shouldn't have put the yellow page ad out, many members of command put that yellow page ad out. When I got stabbed, I got told it was for the department. It was also for Finn getting fired. Happy you heard that. You were there.
I was.
I took that on the chin. I did not speak about that matter after, and I tried to just move on with my shit. The next day, me and Kiki talk, because obviously these are Kiki's friends. Kiki invites them to where I am to give me my phone back. Can you imagine your chief does that? You're talking about work and she invites the guy that did that to you to give you your phone back. I did not speak to anybody about this because I didn't feel like this would be any information that they would need. This is probably going to go to the docket. They pled not guilty. So all of this stuff is going to be public knowledge soon. The subpoenas will be public knowledge. The texts will be public knowledge. Everything that has happened after will be public knowledge. So I will let you know now that that is probably going to happen. So you might want to damage control that. When Veronica beat me down on the roof, not one member of command reached out to me. Not one member of EMS knew that happened to me. I had Veronica take me in and get me medical treatment, and I left. I went, and I didn't come back. Later that night, I went to Liquid Library where you guys were with, I don't know who it was, I know you were definitely very happy. You were with Veronica. Not one person reached out to me. Again, it felt bad. It felt like what happened to me was invalid, and I kind of deserved it, which I didn't deserve it, but I told everybody I deserved it when anybody asked, because Veronica told everyone what happened. And that led to questions. Why did Veronica beat you down? Why did this happen? Why are you sad? Why don't you want to be on duty? And I didn't tell anybody asking. You know who I told? I talked to two people, my two FTIs, Ash and David. Did I give them all details? No. Did I tell them how I felt as a person? Yes. I didn't tell them any work-related stuff. I told them my personal feelings and how it upset me and that I wasn't going to be around as much. because I didn't feel comfortable being on duty and I didn't feel like my department supported me at all. So I took my break. I wasn't around as much. And then we had that conversation down there, Happy, where you said something to me and I followed up with a comment. My comment was actually something along the lines of, I didn't blame Veronica or Kiki. But then you snapped at me saying that all I was doing was talking bad about Veronica and Kiki. But I specifically had just said to you in that conversation that I didn't blame them. So it didn't make sense to me why it was a big deal. I take notes of all of this because I have nothing better to do. I don't want the bad feeling, but I want to note down every bad interaction I've been having recently because it's genuinely upsetting. And I speak to Command about this. I spoke to Kiki about this, and she just said that you must have been upset. She said she'll deal with it. These things I always spoke to people about. I would try, and Kiki would tell me to keep it to myself, right? About the Veronica beating me down, about people not talking to me. Just give him time, give him space. So I gave him time and I gave him space. That to me was don't talk about it, give people space. This isn't me talking bad about Kiki. This is me literally just trying to tell you that this is how it was. And if she forgot, unfortunately, that's a her problem and not a me problem. Because I have communicated all of my issues. When we had active threats made against two medics' lives, Aphrodite and Alice, I expected, seeing as Kiki and Veronica were there, that they would let them know, let them be aware that this might happen. 3 days later, I came into AU to find Alice and Aphrodite completely oblivious to any situation and asking me what happened to Finn, which I didn't tell them, but I did advise them that there were threats made against them and that they should be cautious. I said that it's not a big deal, just to be cautious and, let anybody know if anything suspicious happens, which they took on the chin. They said, okay. And then next, they're in disguises and it's gone crazy. And I don't understand why they did that. I went and made a police report because I felt like there needed to be a paper trail on what happened in that conversation if they did get stabbed, because I feel like that's on our back if they got stabbed with no, I guess, knowledge of what was happening. Let me just see. When I came up here to talk to you guys about the Odessa thing, it sounded like your minds were already made up about the situation, and it felt like I was in the wrong immediately from my reaction coming up here. That's why I might have seemed a little bit defensive. The way I was spoke to was very negative, and it did not feel like it didn't feel like a productive conversation. It felt like a, but why, but why, but why? Not a conversation, but a talking down to. So that's why I kind of just said what I said, and I went, because it didn't add up to me that Parker said that he talked to me in 3 days, but you guys wanted to talk about it right there and then. So when I went down there, Luna shouted at me, snapped at me, and in front of the trainees. And I will tell you now that one of them trainees does not want to come back because that was her first impression of the department. And the other FTOs are very confused and they feel unsettled by that situation. When I came up here to bring that to you guys, instead of listening to me again, it just felt like you were cutting me off and you were just talking down to me again, where you were telling me, well, why did you do it? You should have been paying attention, blah, blah, blah. I 311 specifically that I was 10-7, onboarding 2 trainees, and I was going to be training 2 people, so just let me know if I was needed. Nobody let me know I was needed. I just got bombarded in front of many people, and instead of reacting badly, what I did was I reacted in a calm way and asked her why she was shouting at me, and asked her to maybe let me know next time if she needs help, because I 311'd it. She got all hissy and she drove off. I constantly find myself having to put out fires and asking people to go to command about it because I feel like my word and what I feel isn't respected by command anymore. I ask constantly for people to bring their issues to you guys. I refer to you a lot, Happy, because you're around consistently. I see you nearly every day. So if they don't bring their issues to you guys, that is on them. That is not on me. Personally, I haven't felt comfortable talking to you two since this all happened due to the fact that I felt like you guys pushed me away and didn't actively try to speak to me after that. I did try to speak to you guys after the situation, and I've actively made attempts with all medics to talk, hang out, do things. But when I'm on duty, I just feel like there's no relationship here, so that is why I've stayed back.
I'm not sneaking. I climbed up.
Other situations where you guys could say I probably didn't talk to command would be the D'Angelo stuff. And this is why people are losing faith in the department. It's not anything to do with command, and I don't talk about this with people. They talk to me about this. And I brought this to command. I brought this to Veronica and Kiki because they were both my time zone in them hours I was told on this day. People aren't happy and are actually going to leave if D'Angelo is made chief. I have been talking to them about it recently, trying to make them respect him a little bit more and understand that, you know, he was going through a rough patch back then. But trainees brought up multiple issues with D'Angelo about his attitude towards them and his attitude towards the department. He said, fuck the department, fuck EMS, and he would twat this stuff out on the daily. He would snap at trainees, he'd make them feel uncomfortable, and he would go out of his way to make them miserable while they're on duty. Running up to Keith, telling him to remove his mask, and then running away, not giving him a chance to speak. When I brought this up to Kiki, the next day he was made the executioner. And he made that horrible announcement about him being the executioner. A lot of people felt unheard and unsupported. So I have been trying to...
In defense of that, Kiki jokingly said, "Oh, I guess I'll just make you the executioner," tossing the word. He was the one that decided to run with it, and
Okay,
we have
but-
not been able to change his mind.
So what I asked of Kiki to do that, which she said she would, was at least just have him redact the executioner part or apologize. Because the trainees can't trust him or forgive him if he's not even going to speak to them about it. But there's been a whole lot of stuff that I have constantly been bringing up and I have constantly been talking to command about. I've tried. I have been pushed away. I have literally been made to feel like a nobody. The reason I took the opportunity in PD, which I also told Kiki, was because I didn't feel welcome at all in this department anymore. It wasn't a choice that I wanted to take, and I wasn't going to take it. And you might even wonder why I'm still here trying to, like, tell... I don't know what I'm trying to do right now. I don't know why I have to convince you guys that I'm a good P&T lead or even worthy of being in this department, because you guys honestly don't seem to understand what I've been doing. You two aren't in my time zone. You're not around when I'm doing stuff. The only people you're gonna hear talking about it are probably people like Luna. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys want from me. I have really tried, and guess I'm sorry that I couldn't do better.
I have not pushed you away. You stopped coming to me about stuff.
You can say that, but that's not how it feels. I continue to come to you about stuff, but we're just not around the same time. I've got to the point where I genuinely have not been coming around because I don't want to deal with this. Just the attitude every time I come on duty. The feeling of not being wanted. Like, I will stay off duty and I will go do things out in the mountains. Anything but come here. And this is knowledge from command. Like, I have told people how I've been feeling. But when everything was happening and nobody checked in on me, right? I shouldn't have to reach out and be like, yo, you know what? Seeing as you guys all know that I got beat down by a member of high command, for no reason, if I'm being honest, she brought something up. I tried to respond to it. She beat me down. There was no hesitation. There was no conversation. It was just, she brought something up. I wasn't allowed to explain. But nobody came to me about that. So you say talking about people behind their backs, but in reality, who am I supposed to talk to? I didn't talk to everybody in the department. Not everybody knows anything about me. And that's stuff I tried to keep personal because I didn't want everybody knowing that happened. I didn't want people knowing what happened in that entire situation. Most people don't even know that I got stabbed.
We talked to a wide variety of people, and have found that across many incidences and many people, there has been an amount of toxicity coming from you. And the captains have all looked at what we have, what we have found out, and we have decided to remove you from P&T lead.
Okay.
The captains have also decided that if as PNT lead you had FTO cert, that will be taken as well, and you will just be an AMT at this time. I did not mean to do that.
Cool. Okay. Is that all we're here to talk about?
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'll be on my way then. If that's okay with you guys.
That's all right.
Yep. Fuck.
Well,
see what happens. We'll see if she quits.
Off the ladder. I'm gonna go see if she's okay.
Did she fall off the ladder? So we're gonna see what happens now. But she spent pretty much most of that time was her talking at us.
Oop.
She's coming back. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Yes.
How come you guys went to everybody about me but never came to me? Because I feel like that's how you begin to establish there's a problem, right? You come to the individual and you speak to them. Instead of doing that at all, you guys have spoke to a majority of EMS about me, which would also put a bad image in their head.
We spoke to a few.
We spoke to a few people as our investigative report led us in certain directions that then led us to certain people that led us in other directions, which then pointed to
So-
you.
Primarily, I work EU and AU instead of NA, but I don't work with people, so I don't understand where this is coming from. So I would really hope that the people that you're talking about are, say, Dust and Jenny and people I actually work with.
We also did speak
Because-
to you. And when we spoke to you, it was a lot of you ranting, and it was very difficult to ask questions. Whenever we asked questions, you described it. You felt put off by it, or something like that. We tried asking you questions, and you would get very defensive.
Okay, so when did you speak to me?
We spoke to you yesterday.
Okay. Before that?
We had not been investigating this before that.
So this is... Cool. No, that's all I needed to know. That's fine. Good to know. Yeah, I'll be gone.
Well, okay, so
I just want. How do we?
we need
Take
to
it to-
remove her FTO cert, and we need to communicate. I think what we should do, is probably just. I mean, Angela's gonna be de facto lead until a P&T lead is chosen. Which should probably just
Yeah.
happen after the election, honestly.
Yes.
So I think we should reach out to Angela directly, and once the once the tag removal goes through, put something in the FTO communication about people directing P&T concerns to either Angela or command.
I requested her FTO tags to be removed.
Okay.
There's so much I wanted to say, and I just didn't want to say it because it's like, I don't want you to know everything that we have.
I went through my main points about like her attitude because that's the real reason we're
That's the reason.
doing
it's
this,
her attitude.
and trying to
And she's like,
take some focus away from the from the Odessa situation, because that is not really the reason. Like it was the jumping off point,
it was
but
the jumping
it's
off point.
the basically all the other stuff.
We had so many people that pointed the toxicity. Ash literally stated when Kiki asked her where it was coming from, she said you. And you're saying these are the people I work with. You're not thinking of people who are no longer here.
Yeah, I mean, she did say like, "Oh, I didn't tell it to the whole department. I just told it to David and Ash, who are the
Two people who are gone.
two people who are gone." And I
Three
mean,
of the 5 people that
I have
were
not
even said
told
was coming from.
Veronica this, but in my conversation about there being people who lost faith in the Chiefs, like Ash and David were the two people. Right, so it spread to these people. It had a lot an effect.
Yep. And it's like you want to say that you want to, but then she's going to have a reason as to well why. And the thing of well why don't you come to me? Because you're the one we're investigating. I can't come to you. You were a cop. You should know how this works. But it's going to be a shit show regardless. So
Yeah.
well, whatever. All right. I want to go do something stupid.
Yeah.
What wall is this man talking about?
Do you okay, have you reached out
I
to
got
Angela?
No.
I'll
Here. You want to or you want me to? I think I have her email.
either way, I don't mind doing it, but
I can do it.
okay.